Hey everyone, my name is Amanda and I'm the Fun Size Reader, and today we are finally going to talk about my favorite fantasy reads of 2024. Hello everyone, welcome back. It's 2025. This video is way late. If you've been following along on my Instagram or my community post, you saw that I was basically sick for an entire month. My whole family was sick for an entire month. By the end of it, I couldn't speak. So I couldn't record these videos. I couldn't put them out to you. I would literally, no one could hear me. So I am here now doing them a little bit later, but it's fine because I still think it's important to put out which books I loved from this year so that if there's any that you wanted to push up on your TBR, maybe weren't convinced enough with my review video, now you know they're my favorites. Maybe I'll read them this year. This video specifically is for the fantasy romance books. And I was originally going to do top 5, right? I typically do my top 5 reads, but there are 6. So you get one more. These will be in no particular ranking order. I have a very hard time ranking them once they get to like my favorites list because I love them all for different reasons. They're just probably going to be in the order that I read them in the year. That's about it. The first one is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This I know is like romance style book, but it's paranormal. I'm calling it fantasy. It is what it is. I wish I could read this book over again for the first time. I loved it. I love this book so much. I had never read I take that back. I don't know if I read this one or a different werewolf mating book first. I can't remember which one, but it was new to me. Okay. It was very new to me. I never really read that type of book before other than Twilight, right? Like that's in its own separate category. It's Twilight, but those are very different than these ones, but I loved it. I loved it so much. I loved that it was a vampire werewolf mating bonding thing. I loved the characters. I loved the setting. I loved the story. I really want the second one because it's implied in the end that there's more coming. I really want the second one, Ali. Where is it? Where is it? So yes, Bride is on my top list. Next, I do not have a physical copy of this, but House of Bane and Blood by Alexis Menard. I think I'm saying that right. I don't know. But I loved this book. I thought it was so good and so unique. And I haven't read the second one, but it's on my list of things to read this year because I want to like finish up my series. I did way better this year. That's why there's a lot more fantasy on this list than I anticipated because I read so much more fantasy than before. I really loved this book. It had that like gas lamp, steampunk, Peaky Blinders feel, but there was magic and fantasy and forbidden love and warring families. And it was just so good. It was so good. If you have not picked up this book, please go pick up this book. It's so amazing. I really want to know what happens at the after the end. Of course, it leaves you on a cliffhanger because of course we want to be able to read the next book. It's got a little bit of spice in it. It's not overly spicy, but the tension. And it's kind of a marriage of convenience, kind of a contractual thing. Like, guys, it's so good. Please go read this book. All right, next one. And this might be controversial. I have gotten a lot of back and forth comments on this book on my channel recently, and it's okay. I don't care. I couldn't stop thinking about this book after I finished it. As I was reading it, had like mixed feelings a little bit, but then I just like kept wanting to read it and wanting to read it and wanting to read it. And it was addicting. And then I kept thinking about it after it was done. So it has to be a top read because I couldn't get it off my mind. And that is Quicksilver. I really want a new updated copy. I don't know if I'll get one until, they're all like released out in the United States and all of that, because I tried to order it from the UK and get the like fancy edges and stuff. The order didn't work. So I have my other copy. I had to have Kingfisher on the front. I actually forced my sister to read this book. She listened to the audio when she was like going on a really long drive one day. And she was like, what do I read? I was like, Quicksilver, read Quicksilver. I still stand by saying this has so many similarities to ACOTAR and A Court of Mist and Fury. I stand by that. I didn't really care though, just because I still really loved it. But I think with any like super viral book like Quicksilver, people are either going to love it or they're going to hate it. And that's okay. I loved it. Next is a book 2 in the series, and I loved this book way more than book 1, and I really did really like book 1, okay? But I loved this book. The tension, the desire, the laughter, the story, I loved it. I needed Evie and the villain to do more than they did in this book, but it's fine. It's fine. Hannah is just cursing us with the slowest slow burn ever, and I will put up with it because I love them so much. Apprentice to the Villain is also on my favorite list of this year. I like I said, I love this book even more than the first one. I think I read this book in a day. I couldn't put it down. I just loved it so much. And she just finished her draft of book 3. And I know it's not coming till August, but I'm already waiting for it. So I really love this series. The next one I also don't have a physical copy of because my physical copies are the special editions that I ordered that don't get here until April, which is fine. I'll be patient. But it is book 3 in the Legends of Thesmar series by Helen Scheuerer, Fate and Furies. This is where the series just took off for me. This book was a total 5-star. I loved this book so much. There was so much I loved about it that I can't say because I'm not going to spoil it. Oh, it was so good. The series just built up as you read the books. And then when it got to book 3, it was just exploded. I loved it. I loved the characters. I loved the tension. I loved what we thought we knew that we didn't know, all of the things. It was just so good. Helen did a great job with this series. She did a great job. I only read the first 3 books in 2024 and I finished book 4 in 2025. So I'll be recording that review soon. And last but not least was The Ever King by L.J. Andrews. Viking Pirates Eric Bloodsinger. Ugh. I loved this book, you guys. I loved it. I was trying one of LJ's books again because I started her first series, but the super long series was so intimidating to me. But then this one was a duet. And then there's another one that's kind of connected, but not really. So I thought it was more palatable to jump back into her world. And I am so glad I did because I loved this book. Again, couldn't put it down. Just blew through it, had to buy the physical copies of it because I read it on Kindle Unlimited. And the physical copies have artwork in it. And it's a work of art. It is beautiful. I loved it. And I cannot wait. The Ever Queen is book 2. I cannot wait to get to that this year because I'm finishing that duology and then moving on to book 3, which is Jonas. And I have seen the artwork and I've seen the quotes and I've seen all the things and I cannot wait. Viking Pirates, guys, Viking Pirates. It gives all the Pirates of the Caribbean feels. Just read it. All right. Well, those were my top fantasy reads of 2024. I read so much more fantasy this year than I have in previous years. I kind of go in waves, but I'm a true fantasy girly to my core. I've been reading fantasy since I was a teenager, and that was a long time ago. I am so glad this was an on year for fantasy. And now I feel like I have all these series to finish up and all these amazing new authors that I've discovered. So many new indie authors, so many indie authors that have gone trad pub. I literally have a stack. You can't see it. It's like a vertical stack at the top of my bookshelf that is just a bunch of books that I have to read this year that I want to read that are all series that I just haven't had the time to get to yet. So I'm excited to have way more fantasy on my TBR this year. And hopefully, maybe, who knows, I'll be able to do a top 10 of fantasy at the end of this year. We'll see. If we share any opinions or if you like what I have to say about books, maybe you should check out the book that I wrote, which is Dawn of Hope by Amanda Breyer. It is available on Kindle Unlimited if you're interested. It is about a secret princess who goes on a journey with a mysterious stranger to find a magical cure to save her mother on a mythical island. Anyways, thanks so much for talking about fantasy books. Leave me recommendations in the comments. Let me know what your favorite books of the year were so that I can read them. Please let me know if there are new authors that I need to discover. I know TBRs are all long, but I'm a mood reader, so things come and go on it all the time. As always, I will put links for the books down in the description below. And I'm so glad you guys stuck around with me for 2024, and I'm looking forward to an amazing 2025. And I'll see you guys next time.